What's up, everybody? New year, same sponsors. We're talking about Elite Sports, the only apparel company that's got our merch squaring around. We're talking about ELETE sports.com. They got everything from squaring around. They also sponsor their own athletes. So if you're trying to get some custom merch for your family, you're looking for a good gift, shop EliteSports.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout to get a nice discount. Tell them the Square Boy sent you. What's up, man? Should you stop our collection too if you're trying to get like a squaring around hoodie, jacket, sweater, hat. We got all that. EliteSports.com. Use code SQUARE. One of the best things you can have is home field advantage. We have that same thing. Use code SQUARE at checkout, homefield.com. You can shop everywhere. Not really Texas State, but I guarantee you if you buy something and you bother them enough, like I've been doing in the off season, eventually, one day, like a phoenix, we shall rise. Homefield.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout.
Tired of winning the tailgate but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squaring Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
Welcome to Squaring Around, everybody. It's with very sad and humble hearts we come to you on this Wednesday in the year 2025. This part of the podcast actually is just going to be dedicated to Val Kilmer, a hero to all of us, pretty much on Squaring Around. We're joined by Colton McWilliams, of course, whose style is pretty much inspired entirely by Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday in Tombstone. My favorite Val Kilmer movie is Heat. I've seen Heat at least 100 times at this point.
Now, why? Why do you like Val Kilmer and Heat so much? Also, love that I got an introduction. It's Andrew Zimmel, Texas State Sports Press. But
hey, I'm shaken, Andy. I don't know what to tell you. Last week we were kind of all over the place, and then my emotions were really high with baseball last night.
We weren't all over the place.
I got slammed with the Val Kilmer news.
I have beef. How is it that people are flaking on you? That's my thing.
Dude,
like,
talk about
I understand me flaking on you, but we have guests that don't show up anymore. What's going on here?
Pre-booked guests.
That's crazy. All right, that's why we have Colton this week, because we know he's locked in.
You got to lock into the Saturday starter early with Colton McWilliams.
Oh, yeah. We went to the bullpen early. All right, so why do you like Val Kilmer and Heat is my question.
Well, I just like Heat in general.
So it's not a Val Kilmer thing.
Is that my favorite Val Kilmer movie? No, I probably have to go to The Doors on that one. I think that's amazing. But also The Doors is my favorite band too. So it's like I just get slammed with Val Kilmer nonstop. The propaganda network continues.
See, Colton and I are on the same side here. Colton, what is your favorite Val Kilmer movie?
It's Tombstone, hands down.
Gotta be.
To me, it is. I think it's the movie as a whole is probably one of the greatest ensemble cast if you really look at all the people into it, because you're talking about Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Bill Paxton, Sam Elliott. It's just a list of who's who. But when you look at Val Kilmer's performance on Doc Holliday, it's probably a performance that would never be touched. I think the Doc Holliday character is basically untouchable, because I don't think anybody can top Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday, because it is so iconic and it has so many great lines. We're not just talking about 2 or 3. There's about maybe 10 one-liners in that entire movie. That's it will never be topped.
I'll be your Huckleberry. I love Doc Holliday in that movie. I love Val Kilmer in that movie because it is a story of friendship. The friendship between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday is one of the greatest friendships in the history of the West. And it has got, I remember watching that movie as a kid, watching it as a young adult, watching it as an adult now, and it is by far one of the movies that holds up to the test of time. We got my parents one year for Christmas one of the original movie posters from Tombstone, and we have it in our house. I think they put it somewhere in their house. But anyway, we love that movie as a family.
You can't even verify where this is in your place?
I know
you go
where
there every other weekend. What do you mean?
I know where it is. I don't want to give it away, is my point.
All right, so I home invade your house and steal a poster. in a nondescript location where your parents live.
It's a good poster. I don't know. I don't trust it.
I didn't when I went over to the Andrew Zimmel compound, I did not get to see the damn poster that he's talking about. So it must be vaulted.
Yeah. Keep it tight.
Shout out Jane and Alan.
It's a great movie. Doc Holliday is one of the all-time greats in the West. So I would put Tombstone up as like the last great Western. It's either that or 3:10 to Yuma as the last great Western movie.
I would put Django Unchained. I think
okay.
To me, I think that's probably one of the. Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the last great Western movies we got.
Is that a true Western though? I guess if you're, I don't know, because it is like a Western for sure, but it's like
it's Tarantino.
It's a Tarantino Western, yeah. And so it's like, what's this boy from California know about the West?
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I was sending clips to Jacob with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer, and that's another incredible Val Kilmer movie. I heard somebody talk about it this morning. I forget who it was, but they were saying that Val Kilmer is the ultimate like six man because he's in all the movies that we talk about. I guess The Doors he was the lead, but for most of people's favorite, you think about Top Gun too. He's not the lead of these movies. He's an incredible six man. He's an incredible just like role player in these movies. And he's also, I learned today, the youngest entrance at the time to Juilliard. I think it was like 16 when he got into Juilliard. So kind of cool.
Well, he's a character actor, and character actors are usually not leading men. So
you're going to tell that to Daniel Day-Lewis?
He's not a character actor. He's a leading man. He's like the prototypical leading man. What do you mean? He's freaking Lincoln, dog.
Are you telling me he's not a character actor?
I don't think he's a method actor. That's different than being a character actor. I think being a character actor is like, hey, this is this guy, like anybody could have played Doc Holliday, but he was Doc Holliday. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like that the spin there is pretty good. It's a good spin to save that.
Thanks.
I'm sad that he's dead. I saw it coming from a mile away.
I'm sad that he's dead too. What do you mean?
Yeah, well,
I saw this coming from a mile away. What did you predict the future?
Well, once he had cancer,
the self-glaze that you have is like Krispy Kreme. You're insane.
What do you mean?
You wake up every day and you're like, I knew this was going to happen. What do you mean? You've been sick for like 2 decades.
Not 2 decades, like 10 years.
He was barely alive in Maverick. What do you mean?
Did you ever see the documentary with him?
Or was he just that good of an actor?
No, he couldn't talk. He could not speak in that movie. He had throat cancer, I think. Right, Colton?
No.
I think so, yeah.
The documentary, it came out on Amazon Prime, I think like 4 years ago. I was in North Dakota when I watched it, so I knew it was that like time period.
Yeah, you know what's BS about this whole deal is because usually like with the Gene Hackman stuff, that's like one of the last, before Val Kilmer, one of the most recent like great actors that have died, great American actors that have died. But TMZ broke that story. Last night, the New York Times broke this story with an exclusive from the family. Then everybody just ends up citing the New York Times. Who cares if they broke the story or not, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Got caught in the media circle rigmarole is what I'm saying.
I'll tell you why it had to be the New York Times is because it happened on April Fool's Day. And if TMZ breaks a story on April Fool's Day, well, they're not a serious news organization. It could be an April Fool's show.
I don't know. Those dudes, after what was the celebrity death that put them on the map? I guess Kobe Bryant?
Michael Jackson, but yeah.
Michael Jackson, really? I don't know. I'm too young to remember. You know where I was when Michael Jackson died? I was at
in 2009. Where Jacob Rodriguez was in 2009? I don't know, Mexico City. Like,
I was at a Kung Fu Belt promotion ceremony. I was going from yellow to orange when somebody told me Michael Jackson died.
Did that mean anything to you
at the time? Yeah. What do you mean? It's white, yellow, orange. You're moving up in the rank in this. Next one, looking at green.
We're talking about Michael Jackson dying. Did Michael Jackson's death mean anything to you? Not the belt ceremony. Colton, get this man off my screen. Get this out of here.
I've already gone back and forth with you on who would win in a versus battle, Michael Jackson or Prince. It's MJ all day, cover to cover.
I'll be honest, in 2009, I was like, 11? I thought the Billy Mays, who died the same week as Michael Jackson, I thought that was underrated. The spokesperson for OxyClean.
What about when the ShamWow guy killed a hooker in a hotel room? Where were you in that?
See, now look, you're just doing word association. We need to remember how good of a pitchman Billy Mays was. In fact, the way he died was crazy too. He got hit in the head with a piece of luggage and then goes to bed and dies from a brain aneurysm. That's insane.
Oh, dude, that stuff happens all the time. That's what happened to Guy in a hotel. You know what I'm talking about? Comedian guy.
Bob Saget?
There you go. Comedian guy. Full
All
House.
right, Colton. What's give me another line from Tombstone that you like.
It's the one where he's at the poker table and he's one of the guys is like mad because like he wins like this one hand and he draws the guns on him and then he puts them right on the table and goes,
"Why, Aunt Bailey, we cross? Them guns don't scare me. 'Cause without them guns, you ain't nothing but a skinny lunger."
Dad, what an ugly thing to say. Our poor ugliness. Does this mean we're not friends anymore?
You know, Ed, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it. There. Now we can be friends again.
yeah, now we can be friends again.
There you go. That's a good one. I like the one where Wyatt Earp's going after the guys that killed his family, and they said like something about revenge. He goes, "No, it's a reckoning."
If I know Ringo, he's headed straight for us. If they were my brothers, I'd want revenge too.
No, make no mistake. It's not revenge he's after. It's a reckoning.
Yeah,
Incredible line.
I like
Val
when,
Kilmer.
I like
He'll
the
be missed.
Latin part, you know, where he's talking to Johnny Ringo and he's like, "In vino veritas."
In vino veritas.
Ajay Agis.
Creda Judaea sotella non ego.
Juventus Stultorum. Magister.
In pace requiescat.
Come on, boys. We don't want any trouble in here, not in any language.
But it's because of like how big like Latin was, you know, obviously it's a dead language, but like back then people to seem educated would speak that. But Doc Holliday was a dentist, was actually an educated man and was actually speaking Latin, which is funny because I'm reading Lonesome Dove and Latin is like a joke in that book as well. So it's funny.
There you go.
and then another favorite one's when Wyatt Earp it has Curly Bill because Curly Bill just shot the marshal and you know, all the cowboy gang is trying to gang up on him. And throwing another great Wyatt Earp line, points the gun at Ike Clanton, just goes, "You die first, get it? Your friends might get me to a rush, but I will make your head into a canoe. You understand me?" Like a hardcore line. And then here comes Doc Holliday threatening Thomas Hayden Church character. Thomas Hayden Church pulls out the knife and Doc Holliday, who is, by the way, plastered out of his mind, pulls out the guns and goes,
And you, music lover, you're next.
Drunk piano player. You're so drunk you can't hit nothing. In fact, you're probably seeing double.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
"I got 2 guns, one for each of you."
Also dying of tuberculosis as well.
Yes. And throughout this entire movie, he is dying of tuberculosis and still like 100% badass.
I've always wanted
Tombstone,
to
number one on the Mount Rushmore.
I've always wanted to kill somebody or threaten to kill somebody on behalf of Andrew Zimmel in a show of my true friendship. So
There you go.
I get along with that movie for sure.
Doc, sorry to be in bed. What the hell are you doing this for anyway?
Wyatt Earp is my friend.
Hell, I got lots of friends.
I don't.
He's got the mustache for it.
I know. Some would say
coming in.
better than Doc Holliday's mustache in that movie. I don't know. Creeping up on it.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Squaring Around. I'm Jacob Rodriguez. That's Andrew Zimmel, the Texas State Sports Press. This week, we're joined happily by our friend, the sheriff of San Marcos, Colton McWilliams, the editor of the San Marcos Daily Record. Colton, you were there last night as Bobcat Baseball #came back? Question mark? They needed that win. I was praying for that win. They almost lost it at the very end. You were there. I sent Philip like 4 different questions for Philip. Luckily, I mean, unluckily, Philip did not answer a single one of them or ask us.
Shocking.
Thank God Colton was there last night and asked all the ones I wanted to know anyway. So, what are your immediate thoughts right after that game? Obviously, you saw the Coastal loss last week, and talk about a team that really needed that win, you know?
Yeah, no, like even talking to Trout, like you can tell, like that was probably the most angry I've seen Trout like at the team, like especially how they performed on Sunday. Because going back to Sunday,
yeah, I just didn't play good baseball today. Offensively got off to a slow start again. Thought Tier was okay at times, but not his best. And just gave up too many, free passes, easy runs there. Just bad baseball at times. So, I thought their guy was good on the mound and kind of dictated at bat some. And so, we fought there a little bit to get back in there and then gave it up. So just got to keep fighting. They're getting easier with, Texas and Louisiana and down the road. So we're going to continue to find a way to get the guys better and, make some changes.
With the series tied 1-1, going into a game where you could potentially win the series against a really good Coastal Carolina team, like I said, this was a team that just had like no energy. Like it was kind of like, oh, if we win, we win, we lose, kind of who cares, like type energy, and that's kind of what Trout said in that press conf in the presser afterwards was, it felt like at the moment there's a lot of players that are okay with losing. I mean, and it was just kind of like, it was hard not to argue with that. So it was kind of hard to gauge like how is this team going to respond going into Texas. And then credit to the pitching staff, which I think that's probably been the strength of this team for this entire season. They kept Texas in check for most of the game. Now, of course, there were some silly mistakes like, Laws having the balk that gave Texas the lead, which is kind of like, for me, that was the moment I was like, oh crap, here we go again. Like
this is how we lose this game. That's what went through my head.
Lose this game. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was very, very concerned at the very start of the game, mostly because the first 2 innings took like 15 minutes to get through. And I texted Andrew, I was like, oh my God, the Longhorns are making very quick work of the Bobcats right now because they're just sitting us down in order, 1, 2, 3. And so then the third and fourth, I think it really started things changing in the fourth. They started switching up just like the tempo of the game a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I was quite concerned though for a time. And then the 8th, they scored 4 runs. That was crazy.
Well, here's the crazy part. Like, yeah, through 7 2/3 innings, Texas had like no hits. Like,
yeah,
and they were just like, oh my. And you're looking at it like, and it wasn't like the Bobcats were like, 100% struggling at the plate. They were making really good contact. They weren't striking out as much as they usually do. It was just kind of like things weren't falling their way. And finally, Ryan Farber hits a 2-out double and basically opened up the floodgates. And it was like that, the momentum just caught on. Then Dawson Park hits the RBI triple. Chase Mora gets on with an infield single. Then Ian Collier just delivers like a 453rd foot bomb. And it's like, it was like one of the craziest like things. Cause like, and then the rest of the game, Texas A never got another hit for the rest of the game. It was just kind of one of those wild. It just tells you like how crazy baseball can really get. Like you can go from having no hits and all of a sudden you string 4 hits in a row and all of a sudden you win the game just on that performance.
Let me tell you, this felt very much like the type of game that Texas State wins and then they'll lose games in the next couple weeks and we'll look back to this win and go like, well, why did they win that game? And it was like a starburst of energy. It just was like, hey, here's a bunch of hits really quick, right in unison, and things kind of worked out. UT had some errors, and you look like now at this win and then the A&M win, and then you look at the overall record, and you go like, if I told you before the year that Texas would beat the number 1 team in the country and also Texas at Dish, you would think they're a 20-win team by now.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, it's, like I said, I think the problem with this team, like obviously, I don't think it's pitching. I think their pitching's pretty solid, despite the amount of injuries they had. I mean,
they can't hit the ball.
No, that's been the problem this entire season. Like their offense has just been so inept at times. Like the offense was disappeared throughout the weekend. I mean, they got lucky with scoring that 1 run against Coastal to at least salvage the series. But like, yeah, this offense at times it's just kind of been it's just kind of mystifying because I feel like we've always known Texas State as this really great like hitting team that's going to hit a bunch of homers, hit a bunch of dingers, be able to put this many runs. So like it's it's weird seeing like now it's the pitching staff, after years of not having really good pitchers, when Stivers left, here now we've got a really good pitching staff, at least, to keep us in games, but now the offense just can't seem to get out of its way.
And you hope that at some point that it gets better. Sunbelt tournament time, end of the season, like if you peak at the right time, this is a team that could win a couple games in the tournament and then maybe get to a regional. But I look at him and I go like, okay, you're not even putting the ball in play. Yeah. And last night was a unique game, obviously, because they did put the ball in play. But the Coastal Carolina, they're not putting the ball. They're not even hitting the ball hard places.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was the big difference between this game and then last weekend was like the offense against Texas, they were putting they were at least giving themselves a shot. Like against Coastal, like they weren't even like they struck out so many times and like they weren't giving themselves a chance to at least get on base. That was like the first time, in a while that I saw the offense. Okay, even though, like I said, they were getting no hit, they were still having some really good contact at the ball. It was just, like I said, baseball's a funny sport. Like sometimes.
Well, and Jacob, I'll say this too. It feels like they don't have base runners ever. It's like I constantly am either watching the scoreboard or watching the game, and they just don't have guys on base when I'm looking at it. It's okay. Hey, we're in the 7th inning, and we've had 2 base runners to this point. I don't get it.
Or they do, and they just strand them. So it's like, it's what good is if getting on base if you can't get them home sometimes too. And that's why last night I kind of felt like I was watching like a track race, like kind of like a 400, like. Because we got that late lead in the 4th, and then I was like, "Oh God, here comes Texas!" And I could feel them, and especially because obviously I'm preaching to the choir, like how dangerous Texas baseball is. Rylan Galvan Cuda is like a generational talent for Texas. Honestly, if you're doing
he's
like a
banged
top
up right now too.
If you're doing like a top 100 baseball players that have come out of Texas, he's top 40 for sure. He's amazing.
That's a stretch. There's a lot of good ball players that have come out of Texas, but I'll take it. I'll take it as a sign of respect.
Putting him up there, and shout out Adrian Alanis.
I want to put this also on the podcast because I think people will find it very funny. So Cade Bing was the starting pitcher last night. How much do you guys know about Cade Bing?
0.
Little bit, nothing. Colton, anything?
No, all I know is like he threw a no-hitter through, like he no-hit. Yeah.
So Cade Bing is this pitcher for Texas who gets the start on Tuesday night, who Jim Schlossnagle has spoken so highly about all of these guys, but consistently is the meanest to Cade Bing. Cade Bing could have an incredible game, a good relief appearance, and he doesn't give him those compliments that I think other players get. And I've noticed this from the beginning of the season, and I've brought it up a couple times on the show. Like, hey, I don't know what's going on here. For him to lose that game the way that they lost it, you just feel bad for him in a lot of ways because it's like losing to Texas State, if you're Texas, a top 10 team in the country, not great, not a good look. Texas State brought their A game. Texas did not, and that's kind of why the result was what it was. But for Cade Bing in the post game where it's like, what did Cade do right? Well, I can tell you what he didn't do right. It's like, okay, got it. Cool. You feel bad. Yeah, I feel bad for a guy like that because, it's very hard to feel bad for the stormtroopers, but you do. In this instance, I'm like, I kind of wish that Cade would have had a little bit more.
It's easy to feel bad for the stormtroopers because of, clone like changing technology and like you could talk about the human race implications and all that and like Order 66 and how I'm just saying
you're such a loser. That's such a bum thing to do. And Colton,
all of those things, by the way, non-canon now thanks to Disney.
Agree with me on this because that analogy was incredible. Texas is the evil empire. Their players would be the stormtroopers. Schlossnagle would be like Vader. Me. And no, you decide to go like, let's get really in the weeds. Let's nerd out on Star Wars.
Let's ruin.
I'm fine with it. But man, you ruined a great analogy. It was a great analogy.
I don't think it was that good.
Colton,
I think, sincerely, Jim Schlossnagle's the devil. I think he's nearly ruined college baseball. I think, honestly, he's the worst guy ever. I've been saying it for years.
See, and this is where the truth comes out. This is the whole time.
And that's why I lit a prayer candle last night for Steve Trout, and guess what? It freaking worked, guys.
Now, I'll tell you, Jacob does the Texas A&M editing for their podcast, it bleeds into him a little bit. You see this? It bleeds in a little bit. And then Zimmel on the Austin side of things, it bleeds in a little bit. So you can see house divided here, Colton. You see it?
And so here's the thing that I sent Colton last night. Me and Colton were up talking in the wee hours of the night last.
That's cute. You giggle and kick your feet too?
It was like 1 a.m. when I sent him this tweet about Texags, who apparently knew about the Schlossnagel move in April before
they didn't.
Series. But Bullshit. They didn't leak the story so they could protect Schlossnagel in the program, right?
I don't buy that. Colton, do you buy that?
I don't know. Now you can say whatever because it doesn't fucking matter, but still.
I don't buy that for a second. Not for a second, I don't buy that.
Well, to be honest, seeing like the text that the owner of Texag, or like I guess the founder of Texags has, that's a possibility I could see like that happening because like
here's why I don't buy that, because when it actually happened and Schloss left A&M, he got cratered and he was on TV talking about how it wasn't going to be Schloss leaving A&M. That's why I don't buy it. Because he acted like Cristo Conte stole a baby out of a crib when Schlossnagel left for Texas.
When really he got in a Lamborghini and drove to Austin with Del Conte in the car, pretty much holding his hand the entire way.
And listen to this. He brought one player maybe from A&M with him. Yeah. He brought his coaching staff though. Obviously, the coaching staff was way more important than the players. Obviously, Max Wiener is like clearly the most important assistant coach in college baseball because they turned the Texas. It's hard to believe this. Last year, the baseball at Texas, the pitching staff was awful. Like it was on par with Texas State in a lot of ways. And this year, that pitching staff is good. Like that's a good pitching staff. Texas didn't have Max Blue yesterday either. He's out for the rest of the season with a thumb injury. I think that the Longhorns are gettable, and when Texas plays Texas State in the Austin region, we're speaking into existence here. When they play each other in playoff time, I mean, I'm hoping that it's the same result for Texas State.
I have maintained that I think Texas State is a top half Sun Belt team. I think if all 14 teams played right now, we would be either seventh or 6th easily. After the Coastal game, though, I was like, oh, my God, this is horrible.
There's a bunt put down on the squeeze play, throw to home, and it got away from Mora. Miho scores. Nobody covering third now, and over to third base goes Sykes. Bartho winds up at second base.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is a good segue, because I asked Jacob this question. If you had a 3-win football season, but Texas State went to Omaha for baseball, would you accept a 3-win football season for an Omaha visit?
Oh my God,
that's already like better than like half of the seasons I saw at Texas State. So yes, I would say yes.
I think that Jacob is in the minority of minorities with that take.
Well, I am a minority, number one.
Oh, that's a tough question. I would say if it was before 23, like I think I would have taken it because like I was so like numb to Texas State football at the point. I was like, yes, I would obviously go to Omaha. Let's go. But now, like since now we're now actually good at football and we're actually going to bowl games, it's kind of like I don't know,
Yeah, I agree. I like that Jacob
going to bowl games.
Fan.
By the way, everybody, we've only been to one bowl game, the First Responders Bowl, twice. But
I like that Jacob is this big of a baseball fan. I think that he is alone on this island, and I don't think that there's another group, maybe Wake Forest fans, but I don't think there's another group in Division I football who would say that they would give up a football season, essentially punt on a football season for a baseball season to be good. There's not another school that would do that.
Vanderbilt, Wake Forest.
No, I don't think so. I don't think if
Vanderbilt's not even #built for football. That last year with Diego Pavia was an anomaly.
But I think if you told the Vanderbilt fan, hey, you have a 3-win season, you're going to Omaha. They've been to Omaha so many times that they're like, I would like my football team to be good.
I guess that's fair. But like for the longest time, Texas State football, not good. Baseball, strong program. Not going to Omaha every year, but
I'm saying this. I think that it's very cool that you're so much on this like corner. You're alone. You're alone on that corner. You're very much alone. You own all the real estate on that corner.
I just want Texas State everything to be good all the time. That's really
what
my
a cop out answer. All right,
it's true. I do. Wait, we just squared around, bro. What do you mean?
Absolute cop out answer
for the teams to be good. I never root against Texas State unless I have money on a game and I know we're not going to do well in a certain category. Then maybe.
Yeah. Shout out Boston College.
Shout out Texas State for ruining that $150 bet for me in college. I could have really used that for rent that month. And I had to turn some tricks,
Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time.
So
Colton
I also think,
McWilliams.
because you were talking about just like the hot and coldness of, really the, I guess, coldness of the bats, right, this year. I think last year, if we had those bats with this year's pitching staff, like, who knows? The world is our oyster, maybe.
Are you down on Chase Mora?
Down? I think I've said that since his sophomore year. Now he's a junior.
If let me ask, so Colton, we'll make this the stock game. If I offered you Jacob's Chase Mora stock, he owns a stock option on Chase Mora.
Are you just picking it up? We were on the ground. We were there when he went public.
Are you picking up Jacob's 8 shares of Chase Mora that he has left?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I like Chase though. He does get on base. He's not hitting grand slams anymore.
Well, I will say I do think Chase is having a lot better junior season than he has than a sophomore season. I don't think we're probably never going to see freshman Chase Moore, because I think that was just a one-time anomaly.
That sucks.
Kind of terror, but I do think he's gotten a little bit better than I think he has taken some steps to improve himself, following that sophomore slump. I think he leads the team to RBIs and he's raising his batting average a lot more, and he's been able to get on base. And another thing, when you need him to come in through the clutch moments, 9 times out of 10, he's going to give the Bobcats a lead. I mean, you saw him
now. Let me ask you, do you think that that's because they haven't been a ton of clutch moments this year that I can disagree with that point? Because I don't think that I can't, again, all anecdotal, all off the top of my head, I can't think of a time where Chase Moore came to the bat and I was like, this is his Derek Jeter moment. You know what I mean? This is this clutch moment.
I mean, he had the walk-off win against Grand Canyon. He was going to the bat. He was 0 for 4.
Yeah.
And then the very last at bat gets the needed run. And same thing against Coastal. He was struggling. Finally gets the game-winning RBI. And then, of course, against Texas, he hits the infield single to give Texas State the lead. I mean,
all right.
When you need Chase Moore, Chase Moore to be Chase Moore, he will be Chase Moore up for you.
And I will say too, I feel like it's unfair to hold his freshman year in perpetuity against his the rest of his career that he'll have ever, because it's so hard to ride momentum that way, his
hold on. Name one player who had a good freshman year who you didn't expect them to be as good or better their sophomore year. That's sports. That's life. If you have a very good first quarter, your boss isn't great job on the first quarter, 0 expectations for Q2. You expect something for Q2 as well to build off that success.
Well, here's my take on this thing. I think Chase Moore's freshman year is probably something we'll probably never see from maybe
Which sucks. That's awful.
But I also think that is a very high expectation to have what he did his freshman year. He did some stuff that we no other college baseball had done. He had 4 home runs in his first 4 at bats. I mean, he hit 4 home runs, and you're talking about something that you may never ever see from a Texas State baseball player.
Didn't he lead in the country at one point? Wasn't he the number 1 hitter in the country at one point?
It was.
So what are we talking about?
And his slashes were great. His on base percentage was great too his freshman year.
And I thought he was entire swing from year 1 to year 2, and now his swing looks entirely different from year 3 too. So, which I guess
I thought his number was going to be on the outfield.
Player the team needs right now too. The team needs him to get on base, so he's getting on base.
Mm-hmm.
I don't not to me, not consistently enough for my liking, but that's fine. I had another question I had for Colton, but you got me on this Chase Moore tangent now, where I'm just I'm thinking back.
Real, though. I'm with you on that, because everybody saw it drop off. We thought he was our savior, and then nobody could save that team last year, honestly.
So let me ask you this, Colton. Do you think that last year's season being as bad as it was is making up for the expectations for this year? Because we had expectations a little bit. We had higher expectations for the season. Season's still early. It's only April. But, it doesn't feel like we're getting that same pop that we had earlier.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, when you look at last year, like you could say, like, the baseline expectation make the conference tournament. I think we all agree, like Texas State baseball should be making the conference tournament, and there was a lot of things like everyone said, like, hey, the pitching staff was really had really taken strides, and like we're seeing it this year. So like, and everything, like I was talking about earlier, everything we've seen with Texas State baseball, the offense is always going to be the pitching may not be the best, but like the offense, they're always going to deliver runs. And like this season, it just has not happened. And it's just wild, like seeing for a Texas State team that we know that Slam Mark is hitting all these dingers and home runs. We're basically being carried by our pitching staff, where it's always been like the flip opposite, And so to me, it's disappointing to see like this offense seemingly taking a step back from like what we know from this team to be. But it's also been like pleasantly surprising to watch the pitching staff. We finally got a great pitching staff, but now we don't even have the offense to really like help the pitching staff.
Squaring Around is the only podcast, A, that covers Texas State athletics full time, and B, can take a day after beating Texas, a top 10 team in the country, and be negative. So I do applaud.
Immediately
I do applaud
online,
us,
people are like,
we're good.
Midweek games don't matter. This isn't going to change anything for Texas rankings. But this team, Texas State, needed this win so badly to just try to right the ship. So,
Texas State needed this way more than Texas did.
They needed everything in this game. This was not only our Super Bowl, it was every single thing about this season. Because if we lost to Texas last night, I could just see this team puttering down into Sun Belt Conference play.
Let me ask you, because I want to talk KTSW with Jacob here in a second, because it's rare that he gives them any sort of credit.
What do you mean?
Do you see, because we talked about the social media, you saw the people trying to dunk on that guy with Schlossnagel.
Okay.
He'll never lose to Texas State. And then,
yeah.
Okay.
Bookmark
now,
this or whatever.
Let me ask you this. Is that a good or bad karmatic thing to do? Is it a good idea or bad idea to do that?
Well, do you remember when Tom Madden was like waving goodbye to the Aggie fans? And then as Texas State continued to suck in the first like quarter of the season, everybody was like, what do you think now, Tom Madden? So Tom Madden's continuing to get dunked just based off of that thing.
Colton?
I mean, when you post stuff like that, like you low-key kind of have it coming if you're that brave about it. And also, can we talk about the wild statistic? Like Texas State has won like 4 straight at the dish against Texas, which is
I mean, hashtag stat, right?
Yeah, well, I saw somebody tweet win streak continues, and I was like, what are you talking about? We lost to Coastal twice in a row. What do you mean? And I was like,
does it matter?
Talking about at dish. That's what they're talking about.
Look, if Texas State loses to every Sun Belt team but beats UTSA, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU, do you care?
Well,
if you just win your non-conference games?
I think this is a take I had for Colton, like after the A&M win. But I was like, if we continue to show up for A&M and UT, like this team is just doing exactly what last year's team did also, except they lost to A&M, beat UT at home. So, I don't know. Continuing to show up for the big Texas matchups, but getting swept in conference play isn't good for anybody.
You know what'll fix that? Boys? Going to the Pac-12. Going to the Pac-12 will fix all those issues about not being able to beat Sun Belt teams.
I forgot. It's
Pac-12.
April now, Andy. So do we have any Pac news that everybody was counting down
it happened
to?
yesterday.
Like
you didn't see the news that we're now in the Pac-12? Counted down. All right, I want to give my guys at KTSW, they've been working very hard to make Jacob Rodriguez happy. And yesterday they were able to. It's the first time I've ever seen Jacob give KTSW any sort of credit, any sort of compliment. The floor is yours, Jacob.
Dude, that tweet, number one, went viral. Not really. It got like 10 likes though. And I was like, is this just because Andrew pointed it out to people? And then like KTSW people started following me. And I was like, oh, that was sweet. Maybe I should shout them out more. What did I tweet? I tweeted excellent work by these KTSW cats calling the game. 3
which is barely a compliment,
views.
By the way. Barely a compliment. Like, it barely passed the bar of a compliment. And it's the nicest thing Jacob's ever said about that radio station.
Not only that, I did message Dan Schumacher personally last night. This is in like the third inning, like not even after we won the game, because they were doing a great job. So I said, hey, I just like these kids on the radio call. Good job.
Yeah.
That's always something that was taught to me, actually. Find out who somebody's boss is and then send them the compliment also.
You know, Jacob for years was like, we should shutter the doors. It doesn't need to happen. It's a propaganda station. He actually compared it to North Korea. He compared it to North Korea at one point with state propaganda.
I did.
So for him to get this compliment off his chest and to give those beautiful young men their opportunity to get a compliment. Jacob is very stingy with compliments. He's not somebody who compliments other media people like ever. So for him to do that was huge.
No. I mean, compliments should be rare, no?
Colton, thoughts? Should compliments be rare?
I mean, I kind of get it because, like, if you
shut up,
if I'm just like every single time, like, is it?
I like how you're like, Colton, shut up.
You shouldn't. You should compliment people all the time.
Every time he tells you to shut up, Colton, button up one button.
The world would be a better place. The world would be a better place if people were nicer to each other. And Jacob's out here going like, compliments should be rare. What do you mean? I give people compliments every day.
What we do in media is hard. You have to do a good job to get a compliment. I think that's fair. You can't just get out there. Like, those kids prepared for it. They were there. They were making fun of the bat boy who fell. I loved it. They were like, what would you wear if you were on the field as a coach? And they were talking about old man legs. I enjoyed it. I had a great time as a listener.
Well, so much so he doesn't know the name of either of the broadcasters.
I couldn't tell you anything. If they started talking in public space, I could probably point them out. Excuse me, young man, was that you on the radio call?
If there was a lineup, a police lineup, please talk about old man legs. Like, yeah, Jacob,
could you?
That's the man right there,
stirrups?
Sir.
Would you wear stirrups on the field? Okay, yeah, that's you. Gotcha.
Good for Jakey. Good for those kids. All right, you want to talk pro day?
Pro day. Oh yeah, Colton was there. I guess I was like, what the hell do I know about pro day?
Well, I figured we had Colton on to talk more than just baseball, right?
I was going to talk about the spring game stuff, I guess, because he's been over there. I don't know. For you, Colton, because you've been to several of these pro days, I couldn't tell you. I don't think I've ever been to a pro day, actually, at Texas State.
Yeah, you did. We went to one.
Mm-mm.
Really? Okay.
I don't think so. No. But in terms of, like, the amount of pro days that you've seen at Texas State, Colton, how was this one?
Well, kind of, probably the most NFL scouts I've seen at a pro day at Texas State. I think the official count was like 26, 27, which is a lot more than I've ever seen at a Texas State pro day.
Yeah.
I think obviously the big person everyone was watching was Nash Jones, which I think has a really good shot of becoming the first Bobcat in over 10 years to be drafted in the NFL. I think what his official stat, like bench press was at 29, had a really good vertical. I did think he suffered like a small injury on the 40 time, but from talking to him, it seemed like he made a lot of really good connections up at the Shrine Bowl. Like he said, like it was the same agents that he was talking to the Shrine Bowl. Now they were here at Texas State, so I think that's a really good. I think that's, you can't think about anything that's but a positive for him. I think someone maybe like a Joey Hobart, I think he made a lot of good connections over there. I think that with Kenny's connections in the NFL, I think he was able to bring a lot of scouts and be able to show to them like, hey, there's still some quality players here at Texas State that they may not be drafted, but like they could sign on to sign like a free agency
practice squad,
UDFA, whatever.
Yeah, at least give these guys a chance. So from what I saw, I was pretty happy. Got to see Jordan throw a little bit. He threw a couple of deep balls and all of that stuff. So like, to me, it was positive. I like seeing the guys out there again. Joey had his new baby out there. He talked about the struggles of like being a first time dad while also trying to train for the pro day and all of that stuff, which was like a really cool kind of news perspective. I don't think I've really heard before, but yeah, no. But no, if you're talking about the Bobcat that's probably going to get drafted, it's hard not to look at Nash Jones. I think he's probably going to have like the first real shot at becoming the first Texas State player to be drafted in like 10 years.
And I guess when we talk about like the first real shot, because people are like, wow, you guys are fucking haters. What do you know about football? You never played whatever, right? But like,
what in the world chip on your shoulder do you have?
dude,
That's a
true.
crazy
When
thing
you
to
put
say.
some of this stuff online, people start coming at you sideways. And it's because like when you're around like true NFL talent, that stuff is extremely different. Like body size, skill wise.
You're around me all the time.
You couldn't make it down in your life in the NFL. You know when you can play in the NFL? In 1920. Big white guys ruled the league back then, buddy.
We're the integration of the league.
Yeah, before integration happened. But anyway,
disrespectful.
When we're talking about like these guys have a real shot at making the team, I think part of it is marketing. Obviously, you have to have kind of like a good base around that. I think Nash started making a lot of those connections after his big man touchdown. As also when a lot of schools were trying to get him to leave to go play somewhere else and basically like add depth to their roster. Instead, he stayed at Texas State, proved that he could play, proved that he could come back from an I don't think it was an ACL injury, but it was like an ankle, right?
A knee injury.
I think it was his ankle though, right? Or a foot or something. I think he broke his foot for his first.
No, he actually broke his leg. Like
his whole leg. Holy shit.
he broke his whole leg. Yes.
Oh my God. That's insane. But yeah, just showing that you could come out from that sort of stuff and still be the same leader that you were. Was it tough to not see those guys play during, or a lot of those guys, I guess, sat out for the First Responders Bowl. So that sucked. And I also, because I got to listen to some stuff that was coming out of the pro day, different like player interviews that came out. And Jordan said that they met up like one day just to run routes. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Just one day? Because you like Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter were like touring the country for like an entire month before the draft ahead of that to get that like, not chemistry together, but just like, just familiarity, I guess, to continue on. And so to take like basically, I don't know, what has it been like more than 3 months off of football on a consistent basis, throwing to the same person, and then show
Yeah,
up.
but they played like a year together. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but the year's not that long time, Zimmel. What do you mean? We're talking about 6 months of like true like football, like from drills to the last game.
This doesn't move the needle for me, Colton.
No?
All right.
Well, whatever. That was my 2 cents. Again, I've never been to a pro day, so what the hell do I know?
Okay. I mean, I understand where you're coming from with that. I just am like, they've been playing together for like a year. I'd hope that they had the chemistry. I hope that like a couple months off wouldn't
but like
disrupt everything.
When you stop going full speed and you stop, it's different. It's hashtag different. You start becoming like you're marketing yourself, your body, and your skills. And that's different than playing football, is my thing.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
And it's about like making connections and stuff and like, all that is incredible.
Can we talk about how much better of a program Texas State's building than UTSA right now?
Like, are we going to talk about the NIL allegations?
Yeah, because I want to do that. Do you know how easy it would have been for Texas State to be in the same spot as UTSA basketball? It could have been
very easy. Very easy, yeah.
So easy.
For everybody listening at home, there was allegations online that UTSA is lying to players about NIL money that could come through if they sign, right? And I think one of the former basketball players was like had a screenshot from the head coach and was like, 120? Is that cool? Cool. You're going to sign? You're going to commit? Perfect. And then he said he never got that money. UTSA ends up coming out with this whole like thing, basically a statement from the athletics department saying that all NIL deals had been signed and like completed or like, carried out through fruition.
And then add the other part to that. They put out a tweet about financial literacy, which I thought was the most backhanded thing I've ever seen. And I don't know if unless you are somebody who's chronically online like us, it kind of just goes over your head. You don't really care. And if you're a 16-year-old football player right now in parts of the country who don't care about UTSA and then will just sign with UTSA to get the NIL money that's available to them, they probably don't care that much either. But if you're a transfer portal guy and you see what happened there, like they're the first team in the state of Texas, at least that I've recognized, and Colton, you might correct me here, that is embroiled in a semi-scandal with like this type of thing. And I said Texas State had the same problem with JDL, where an assistant coach brings a guy in, then he leaves, and then you leave the head coach and the general manager and the athletic director kind of holding the bag here a little bit. I was asking around if that happened to UTSA. From my understanding, it did not happen, that this has all been the same coaching staff the entire time, which makes it even more egregious to me that this type of thing happened. But again, this is the first school that I can recognize where this is a promise was made, promise not kept. And I think that we should make T-shirts and wear them to the Alamo Bowl next year. Promises made, promises not kept. What do you guys think?
That's funny.
Well, I will say that I think it was UNLV, the quarterback situation over there, about the quarterback. He said, well, they promised me this amount of money. I'm not going to play, for the rest of the season unless, my NIL obligations are met. So it's not the first, definitely the first time like a school from Texas has faced like NIL like allegation like this, but obviously not the last time, obviously not the first.
Well, I'll say Ben Bell was kind of like the first like herring in all this, that like when he sat out for the rest of the season, immediately everybody was like, this is an NIL thing. That question was not immediately answered ever, basically. Truly only God knows what happened there. We still really don't know the story with that. Eventually
I heard that he was scared of getting hit.
Maybe.
I heard that he wasn't Sunbelt ready. So
he plays the opening game of he played at Arkansas State on the road.
He was terrified of it. He was terrified of the physicality of the league.
So then he's like, you know what's worse? Let me go play Enter the Sandman. Let me go run out of the tunnel at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows that the physicality in the Sun Belt's way higher than the ACC.
True.
Obviously.
Soft.
Yeah. That's what I heard, at least. Sources say.
Put that rumor on right now.
Colton's not impressed.
Put that rumor on the internet right now, everybody. I'm not saying like our hands are entirely clean too, because I feel like that was like a weird area too. I don't know.
I will say the thing is, and I said at the beginning that this easily could have happened to Texas State, but it didn't, because Terrence Johnson refuses to give any NIL money and make any sort of promises to anybody. So he's not even worried.
Promises to us? What do you mean?
He's not even worried.
We're going to be good.
He's not even worried about his basketball program and the money. He still thinks people are playing for free. He's like, wait, people can get paid for this?
In fairness to him, though, I did ask about NIL, and he said, Jacob, when I was 16, I worked at Wendy's. And he went on this entire story. Yeah. So I guess I didn't really ask him that question. I don't know.
No.
Maybe that's on me. He said,
if these guys want to get paid, get a minimum wage job like the rest of us.
Jacob, when I was 16, I had a job at Wendy's. That is honestly goes down in history as the best response I've ever been told by a coach.
No, it goes down as one of the worst.
I disagree. I sag hard on that. I would rather a coach gas bag hard after and at least be available than what's happening right now with football, where we get like half-ass access.
Speaking of, let's talk about the rando that asked a weird question about music during the press conference. Jacob texts me and goes, there's a stranger in these press conferences. I listened to it. I didn't recognize who it was. Colton, do you have name and social security number of the person who's asking these questions?
I don't have the person's full name, but I think I've kind of talked to him like every now and then, but I guess he's a professor here at Texas State. And I think he's doing like his own like sort of something that's not really, I think he's doing something else like with his class, doing like, I forgot what it was. It's like I know with baseball, he's trying to do like a recap or something, because like he was there at the Coastal Carolina series, and he might have been there after
he heard Jacob and I waxing poetically about the bad questions people are asking. Goes, I could fix this.
Like,
let me ask worse questions.
I got us.
Coach talked about the energy in these practices, and when he brings recruits in, how much they tell him they like that energy. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I just think to be here, you got to bring the juice every day. There's no practices where you're going to be able to mope around or be tired. So I just think we, like as a group, we're just a juice team. We bring the juice and we play hard, we practice hard. We're going to be physical and tough.
Coach mentioned the music that he plays here, the athletics plays. Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we all the guys get going. All the guys know like the music around us, so we're all singing it, getting hype around it, and it just brings a different juice to practice for sure.
Let me ask worse questions. How does the music affect the way that you guys practice?
Dude, I'll tell you what.
I don't know.
If I was at Pro Day, because I thought about calling out, but they gave me like a week's notice to do that. And I was like, it's not worth it. But Jordan was there, supported by his brother Ray Ray. And I would have been like, who has a better Instagram? You or Ray Ray right now? Because they're the swaggiest guys on the internet.
Let's go band for band.
Band for band. Who's got the better post on Instagram right now? That's my dumb question.
Was there any other pressing questions I had? There's a lot that went on this past week.
Is there?
I thought it was. I came to this podcast with like 6 things that I was going to talk to Colton and you about.
The NIL thing was like cool. I thought it was interesting because we've been getting these like propaganda feeds from spring practice basically when they come and do availability at the podium. I think it's interesting. I'm not being able to see it play out, but like GJ's recruiting strategy. Because he mentioned, I think it was like in the first, like maybe like 3 weeks ago, the first like media availability he had for the spring. But he was talking about how it's different this year because they recruited so many high school guys that there's like less bodies out there right now.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's just going to be like that, every year from now on. Obviously we're trying to make a huge push in the high school ranks and sign 18 kids, and that's probably one of the biggest difference I would say from year 1 to year 2 now to year 3 is since we did sign so many high school kids, it takes up those spots, right? For previously we had all those bodies in the spring, so so now we're just missing those from the roster, and so it's been a little bit more challenging as far as we like to go 3 groups in the spring, so getting 3 groups and all that has been a little bit challenging at times, but I thought the guys have handled it, and we went out and had the walk-on tryout, and I think we signed 4 kids from the walk-on tryout to come and compete, and especially during the spring, and probably 2 or 3 of those guys have a chance to come and be part of the team. So that's always good to see, and love those stories. But yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest differences is just the lack of bodies compared to previous years, because we had, it was pretty much portal and all that, and you're signing smaller high school classes, so they're all here in the spring. So that's been a little bit different, but.
And then like this past week, last week, he was talking about it's like the high school guys that they got, the guys that are returning, obviously, and then they're also looking in the portal.
Just like I said, the first press conference, just so many new faces, but we're starting to learn how to practice. Now it's towards the end of practice when you get to those later periods and it's hot and you're tired and the tempo's going, right? Be able to stay up, be able to be disciplined, holding and penalties and all those things that get you beat. So we're definitely making a ton of improvement, but we still have a lot of improvement to go. I think it's probably too early to tell, but Kylan Evans is a guy that I think's got a lot of talent. Jordan Martin's another guy, 2 guys that we recruited that we're going to count on. Those guys are going to play. There's no secret about that. Those guys are going to play. They're going to play a lot. And then after that, we'll see. We'll see. We got to have some guys step up, and we'll probably sign some guys in the portal.
So it's interesting to see like his like recruiting like calendar kind of like ebb and flow. This is now year 3, so normally people would be like, okay, now this is like a true year under GJ, seeing like what his recruiting style looks like. But that'll be really cool.
Well, I can tell you what the recruiting style is like. So, okay, Colton, do you have any takes? Because I have another Longhorn tangent here, and we can compare and contrast.
What the hell? What are you doing?
You go first. I don't want
All right. So Sarkisian was on Colt McCoy's podcast, and I know that Jacob's a big Colt McCoy guy, so that's how I'm going to enter this thing.
Okay.
And
now I know where you're going.
So they were talking about the transfer portal for Texas, and I waxed poetically yesterday about how you have to build a culture if you're a school like Texas. You can't just go in the portal and bring guys in. Texas State is the school that needs to go to the portal and bring guys in. That is the culture that we are building. You just got to have a head coach who can like kind of microwave it quick. And GJ has proven as a younger guy that he can get guys that all will buy in and pull the rope the same way. Other coaches cannot do that. I think that it's interesting that we are talking about like, okay, year 3, what does his recruiting classes look like? Because honestly, I'm not that impressed with his high school recruiting to this point because we haven't seen any results yet. I have been really impressed by the fact that he can go in the portal and grab guys who immediately make an impact. And I think that if you compare and contrast the 3 schools down the I-35 corridor, Texas, Texas State, and UTSA, Texas is obviously building culture with like, we're going to go get high schoolers. We're going to dabble in the transfer portal. Texas State's the school that's like, we're going all in on the transfer portal. We'll dabble in high school recruiting. And UTSA is the other mid-major who's trying to go through the high school route because of Jeff Traylor being a high school coach. They're trying to get high school guys to come to UTSA. And I don't know if that's going to work because if you are essentially becoming a minor league farm system for Power 5 teams, like we've already seen UTSA lose guys to the portal to go to other schools to get paid more money. I don't know if that's a winnable formula year over year over year. Like, I think Traylor's going to build a lot of really good freshmen and sophomores that we're going to be like, holy cow, like, I can't believe he got this guy. He turned him into something. And then in 2 years, I can't believe that former Roadrunner is on Arkansas State or Arizona State or on Clemson now because they went and got a paycheck. Whereas Texas State, I think they know we're either going to get this guy for 2 years, and he's going to be here, and then he's going to go to the draft, or we're going to get this guy for a year, and then he's going to go to get a bigger paycheck. And I think that the way that Texas State is doing it is unique to them, and I think that it's working to this point, even if we haven't seen a 9-win season yet or 10-win season yet.
I don't know, because what do they have? They have like, what, 18 guys from high school this year, Colton? Or
yeah, I think it was like 18 transfers.
That's pretty good for a class.
Yeah.
That's like more than half.
So you guys are happy with it then?
I mean, I'm okay.
Like, I just think, like, to your
like
point,
high school recruiting
like,
for GJ,
like,
you give him an
point,
A?
like, we're dabbling in it. Not really. These guys kind of pushed a bunch of their chips in. I won't say all, but a lot of them.
Okay.
Well, this year specifically, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the difference. Because in his first year, we were Portal City, USA, baby.
Now,
the only school with more portal hits than us was freaking Colorado.
Now, do you think that they're like that he's going into the high school route because he has that contract, that he knows he's going to be here longer?
That's what he said.
I think GJ's trying to, from what I gather from it, I think he's trying to find the nice balance between, continuing to stockpile the high school talent, because we've seen a lot of, like, some of his high school recruits have major contributions. I mean, we saw Chris Dunton Jr., he had a big breakout year last year, and like now he's potentially going to be the #1 receiver. You also have Josiah Landry, who was a really good.
He was like wide receiver 4 last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, but but now he has the potential to, for someone who worked in that 4 spot, now he's probably going to be your #1 target going into this season.
All right, that's fair.
That's someone you had a chance to kind of build up from.
Joey's gone.
Sophomore year. Now here it comes. Like, he's basically.
I'm not arguing the 4-1 spot. I'm arguing that he was an impactful player last year. That's the argument I'm making.
I don't know. Chris Don had really good catches last year. Kind of kept us in games some of the times.
Again, you guys have better memory than I do, because I don't think to myself.
Obviously, you get Men in Black like. I have a
memory of a goldfish, man. I'm like, what's next? Because most of the time it was like, if it was a win, it was by the skin of our teeth, and if it was a loss, I want to forget about it.
That's fair. No, I don't know. We had a lot of those like forgettable losses too, mostly because this year we were 2 wins up, 2 losses down.
But no, I do think Kenny. I think he's just trying to find the right balance between, like, stockpiling like a lot of these really good high school talent, but also bringing in transfers that are going to contribute immediately and are going to be,
And I would say that I think that his high school recruiting is like the weakest part of his game. I think going in the transfer portal is the best. Re-recruiting guys is really good. High school recruiting, I have not seen this group do a great job of that. Whereas I think UTSA, their high school recruiting is really good. Current recruiting is so-so. To keep the guys on the team is so-so.
I guess if I was like a Kenny apologist, I would be like, well, this group needed to prove that they could win immediately. Like, that year one was so important to the foundation of the team that they needed to go to the First Responders Bowl. They needed to be super high in contention in the Sun Belt, even though they really weren't year one. But, in year 2, we had that like CFP implication and all thing. But that was super important, actually, culturally for the team, because now people expect to win. Now people are like, oh my God, we could contend for the Sun Belt title. Oh my gosh, we could theoretically have a shot at a CFP appearance.
All right. I think we went through and we said 10-2, Jake.
Yeah.
Colton?
For this season?
Yep. Real early, April 2nd prediction.
What were the 2 losses that we gave? Arizona State was 1 for sure. At Tempe, yeah, we're losing that one for sure.
And then it was I think it was Troy, South Alabama, or Southern Miss. Might have been one of those.
It was JMU. When we play on JMU, Tuesday, they're gonna kick our for sure.
Yeah. Stop scheduling midweek games. It does not.
Well, luckily this year we only get 1 Tuesday, so that's good.
For a team that I'll be able to go now, but
maybe that's why you don't remember Chris Don Jr. because we played on so many damn Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and then we come on the podcast the next day, and I'm like, oh man, that was a rough. After a 4 a.m. wake up call, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. This will be the first year that you and me are relatively on the same schedule for
somewhat,
our lives. Wow.
Well, and you never know. Things change every day in the life of Andrew Zimmel. In fact, listen to me on the Craig Way Show the rest of this week. Wherever you listen to this podcast, I'll be on.
Right now, Colton, we are, I guess, a week and a half away. Well, really, I guess a week away from the spring game next week. What are your expectations? What do you want to see when you're finally able to see this team live and in person for the first time?
I guess for me, I want to see which of those 4 quarterbacks is going to establish themselves as yes, I am going to be the QB1 when we start fall. I think that's the most important part. I want to see who's going to be the quarterback out of that competition group that's going to step up and really establish themselves. No, this is no competition. I am QB1, and I'm going to lead this team going into fall 2025. Another big thing's I need to see more of this defense because they're returning out of the top 15 tacklers, only 2 returns. So it's basically a brand new defense. There's so many new faces on this team, and that's my concern going into the season. I don't know what this defense is going to look like.
Is it going to be first to 50? Is that what the team's going to be this year? Is first team to 50 points?
Possibly, yeah. That's. Which is it's a little bit scary, not gonna lie. It's because, like I said, there's so many. I think the entire defensive back room is pretty new. Linebacker crew's new. I think you maybe got 1 defensive lineman. I think that's Khalil Alexander coming back.
GJ was talking about the scary part, linebacker depth, and he mentioned how great Brian Holloway was in year 1. I was like, GJ, that was 2 years ago. We gotta flip the page on this, buddy.
But yeah, that's my main concern. I want to see who's going to establish themselves as QB1 between Brad Jackson, Malachi. Giovanni McCoy.
Ooh, Giovanni.
Holden Grinner and Nate Arnell. I want to see which one is going to establish themselves, and I just want to see what's this defense is going to look like, and who's going to be a major player that's going to step up and be a leader on that defense, especially when they're going through a big transition period, having to replace so many starters.
4.5 over under on players we get to talk to.
3.
Under.
Yeah.
You going under? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you heard it here first. I'm expecting 5.
Well,
Give me 5 players.
Last week they surprised me too, because at the end of my solo episode, I was like, I bet we're going to hear from the coordinators finally this week, but I was talking about last week. And we heard from most of the wide receiver core and GJ again. This week, maybe we'll hear from a coordinator. I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they'll do. They'll just send out all the coaches. No. Hey, why are you dodging the pod?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited for the spring game. I did get to disappoint Andrew, though, by telling him that it starts at noon next Saturday, April 12th. That's going to be a scorcher, everybody.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it's not this weekend because in San Antonio and the Austin area, we're going to get a bunch of rain that comes through on Friday and kind of washes out TPC San Antonio and a lot of the Final Four stuff if you have plans over here in San Antonio.
Super pumped about that.
So yeah, noon start over here in San Marcos. That's going to be fun. Yeah. Also, the first time I'm going to get to see this team. So that'll be the first time I really look at the roster and actually go, oh, hey, look at that. Even though last year they had per position group, they had like 5 or 6 oars, for starters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
What the hell? You don't have anything to add to this?
I hate TPC. So I'm happy it's getting rained out.
Why do you hate TPC?
I'm just not a golf guy.
Yo, I'm actually supposed to go out there. Ooh, I'm not gonna go out there now. Well,
yeah.
I'm supposed to go out there with Will Thompson. Sorry, Will.
Wow. Last weekend, Colton, and then we can wrap the pod. Last weekend, all of our friends went to, not all of our friends, but some of our friends went to Fredericksburg for a winery. The question turns into, when's the last time you had FOMO? Colton, last time you had FOMO?
Like with a friend group, going somewhere?
Or just in general,
maybe your family
FOMO.
Going somewhere?
Yeah, fear of missing out. FOMO.
It's been a while. I
That's
honestly
good.
You don't get FOMO?
No.
Dude, I get FOMO hard.
Yeah, he does. And
I don't get sick, but I do get FOMO.
He lashed out too.
I did. I was pissed. I've lashed out in several group chats over the weekend. Fredericksburg, by the way, is an hour drive from San Antonio. These guys have my number. I'm in all these group chats. No invite for Jakey?
I mean, to be 100% honest, I think Fredericksburg is overrated. So that's just.
You know what was actually like
rival of Bandera. So I agree.
God-tier advice given to me about Fredericksburg, given to me by my buddy Nate Ryan, Ken's 5 San Antonio, was saying, Jacob, you need to find a girl that you actually like, then spend the day out there. Then it's worth it. Other than that, though, nah.
Probably part of the reason you didn't get invited to the winery this weekend. You don't have a girl you like.
But last year, we had talks about having our fantasy draft party in Fredericksburg at like an Airbnb.
I'm so glad we didn't.
Yeah.
So glad we did.
I'm a fan of the drink. I would have enjoyed it. Not really wine, though. I'm not a wine guy. I like champagne.
I'm trying to remember. Last time I had really bad FOMO. I didn't have it for Kodak. I didn't have it for
NASCAR.
I didn't have it for NASCAR. I didn't have it for the winery last weekend. I think Final Four. I think the Final Four. I know some people go into that, and I'm already have like the pre-FOMO of like, I wish I was there. I could have been there. I should have been there. I just
can't you get credentialed to anything you want? You're a real journalist.
Yeah, but the window closed.
Yeah, I know, but you knew that the Final Four was going to happen for like 4 years ago.
I know, but I didn't know everybody else was going. If other people weren't going, I wasn't going to go. But now everybody's going, and I'm like, I should have gone.
You're a loser.
So I have pre-FOMO. I'm a loser?
Yeah, that's on you. You could have gone, you didn't do it.
All right. Thanks for squaring, everyone.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.